special low rates on small packages and air cargo. Contact SkyMax today. 784-456-5400. Local agents SwiftPack Interprime Cargo. Call 784-456-5400 to book your shipments today.
Nothing else sounds as good as
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
The time here in SVG is 8:20, and we are about to begin our interview that is a part of our political conversation series. And we have in studio our guest this morning, Mr. Dwight Fitzgerald Bramble, but he is more popularly known as Fitz Bramble, and he is the East Kingstown representative for the New Democratic Party. Mr. Bramble, good morning to you. I won't say welcome because you've been here before, so welcome back.
Yes, thank you very much, ladies, Roleza and Dianna. Good morning to you, and good morning to listeners out there, particularly the listeners of the
coming up, it's getting closer and closer. What's the feeling like?
Well, the feeling is I equate this to when I played football for St. Vincent. Every time I have a big game coming up, I get real, excited to the point of getting nervous. If I don't feel nervous, then I know there's a problem. So I'm excited. I'm excited because I think Vincentians have an opportunity to really make an important decision. And I'm happy that I am able to be a part of that process, to be able to influence that process. So I'm really excited.
Okay. Let me ask you this. As you mentioned, Vincentians making an important decision. How important do you think this next decision is based on where we are in terms of everything at this moment?
Well, I think the state of our country right now, in the United States, they call it the State of the Union, the United States. The state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines right now, in my opinion, it leaves a lot to be desired socioeconomically. I mean, the statistics are there to prove that, and I don't want to come in with any negative energy per se to appear to be attacking anyone. But the reality is the reality, and I think that given where our global realities are now, the world is at a very serious transformational juncture, in my view. I mean, if you look at what's happening all over in terms of economics, in terms of trade, in terms of social issues, in countries where you never even imagined that people would be walking in the streets and protesting. And I think it's because people with all the technology and AI and everything else that we have to help make our lives better, people are becoming more and more conscious, and people are really exercising that right for a decent human life. That is essentially what it comes down to. As a human being, what do you envision as decency for you as a human being? And how do you make sure that in a society with other human beings having that same vision and that same objective, how do we collaborate and work together to realize something that from which all of us can benefit? And that's why I think it is so important for us right now, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have all kinds of socio-economic issues. A lot of it is homegrown, but of course, a lot of it is outside of our control also. But because something is outside of our control, it doesn't mean you can't handle it. When it rains, we can't determine whether or not it's going to rain, but we can do something about it. We either stay inside or we go out with an umbrella, or you put on a swimsuit and you go and bathe in the rain, but you're not going to stop it. You understand?
Okay.
All right. Given that you had several posts overseas, why did you decide to come back if SVG, well, I don't know what your opinion was before 2020, if you thought that SVG wasn't where it should be. If that's the case, given that you had opportunities overseas to stay overseas, why did you come back, and why did you decide to get involved in politics?
That's an excellent question. And all except one of my overseas stints was in service to this country. When I first left here in 2000, I went to Washington, D.C. as the deputy ambassador. Well, they don't call it deputy ambassador, but that's essential. That's the essential role. I was the second in command at the embassy in Washington, D.C. And I went there under Sir James Mitchell NDP administration in October 2000. Of course, a few months later, the government changed, but I ended up staying in the embassy for another 5 years. And it wasn't because of any political favoritism. At the risk of sounding a little bit, pompous, and I think my performance there really allowed me to stay there and to continue to represent my country. Then after that, I went to Suriname as the ambassador of the Organization of American States, of which St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a member. Again, representing St. Vincent and the Grenadines, indirectly, but still representing. And after that, I moved to Canada, where I was, first of all, a university lecturer, and then I ended up as an economic development coordinator for a small city in southeast Saskatchewan. And I think all of those opportunities, of course, prior to going to the embassy, I taught A-level economics and principles of business at the St. Vincent Grammar School. And then I went on to the Ministry of Finance and Planning, where I was the senior projects officer. I was essentially in charge of all the government capital projects, the monitoring and evaluating and so on and so forth. So I think I was well prepared, in addition to the fact that I had, really tremendous opportunities to represent my country, to represent people, and to look for the best for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I forgot to mention I played football for St. Vincent and the Grenadines for many years. And I think that's where I got, well, even before that, but I'm not going to get into all that in the interest of time. But, that's where I always have this passion for wanting the best for my country. Nobody ain't going to talk about St. Vincent. Nobody ain't going to talk about Vinci this and Vinci that. God, Fitz could be the first one in your face. Even when we played against Mexico, the first time we played against such a big world-class team in football here in St. Vincent, I was absolutely convinced that we're going to beat Mexico, even though Mexico was ranked in the top 20 in the world and we were somewhere 100 and something ranking in the world. Never played at that level. But I always have that passion for representing people. When I was a little child at the Beckway Anglican Primary School, I represented the Anglican Primary School from Beckway in track and field over here in the mainland when they had primary school sports. And then I represented the Beckway Anglican High School in the National Secondary Schools Public Speaking Competition and won it. And then when I was in Form 6, I represented St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the CARICOM Schools Quiz. They used to have a Caribbean Schools Quiz. And we won it. It was a team of Claire Keyser of the Searchlight newspaper, Lyndon Moss, and myself. And we won. We beat Trinidad in the finals. So, I have always had that pride and that passion for representing my people. And in terms of politics, I observed, in my view, that the power of the people was being taken away. And people can have different opinions on that. But in my view, I felt like the governance of this country was becoming too exclusive. People were not, we were not encouraging our people in the real decision-making process. And then I said, no, man, with all my experience and all of that, I think I want to go back and make a difference at that higher level. And then it was fortuitous that at that time, when Mr. Eustace retired, several persons from East Kingston contacted me and said that they think I should make an attempt to replace Mr. Eustace because, in my words, they felt like that I could do a good job. And I don't think I've disappointed up till now, and I don't plan to, you know.
You spoke about your pride for your country. Is it this pride for the country why you speak of bipartisanship?
Absolutely.
And all right. Why do you think that we should adopt that, and how do you see that working out for St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
Well, I think right now, as it stands, when we talk about bipartisanship in the context of the political structure, you know, we have a parliament with an opposition and a government side. And as far as it goes, outside of the actual meeting of parliament and some meetings of select committees that may be established to look at different bills and so on, I don't think that we have that cohesiveness in the decision-making process, in making critical decisions, in planning the vision for our country. Of course, two different political organizations would have different visions, different approaches. But I would like to think, I hope I'm right, that both political parties, I know for the New Democratic Party, but I would like to think that the Unity Labour Party as well, that our ultimate objective is the improvement of the lives of our people. Now, you can't improve people's lives if you're leaving them out of the decision-making process. And I know I still think that we have some work to do in terms of the level of our maturity of political discourse, political interaction. But it can be done. It can be done. And I think it starts with us as the leaders really leading and leading by example. I just absolutely hate the hate, you know, and the toxic rhetoric. I really hate it. I really do, you know, and that's why I try to stay away from it. You know, as best as I could, I try to stay away from the toxic rhetoric. Of course, you know, in the political arena now with elections coming up, you're going to have your little banter here and there, you're going to have your little pecan and so on. But come on, I mean, I think we just take it to a level that is just totally unacceptable as a people. And I think we need to really work hard to find ways where we can debate, we can express our different opinions. You know, Dianna, you may have one way of how we should develop tourism. You know, Ro might have another way of how we could go about developing technology. And I may not agree with either of you, but we are all still Vincentians with the same objective, to move the country forward and to improve the lives of our people. And that's what I want to see. And
do you think that can work out for us? You think that bipartisanship would work out for us? Do you see that working out for us in the future, or?
It has to. If we really want to develop and go far, we have to do it together. We have to find ways to do it together. I'll give you a specific example, in my view. And this is one of the initiatives I am going to be pushing for very strongly when we get into government, is the reestablishment of effective local government. I remember as a young boy growing up in Beckwith, and I always use this example. Every Tuesday morning, they used to have Beckwith District Council meeting. And because in those days, every area had the district council. I don't know if they call them community councils, whatever. And I remember the whole community used to come out to the Beckwith District Council meeting to hear what's happening in Beckwith, to hear who's going to get this, you know, what are we going to do? When are we going to clean up the cemetery? How are we going to have a drive to clean up the beach and these kinds of things, you know? And the whole community used to be involved. Central government would provide a budget for the district council, and things used to go smoothly. People felt a sense of involvement. They felt a sense of accomplishment. They felt a sense of, you know, contributing to the vision and to the mission and to the development of their community. And I think we need to bring that back. Local government. I mean, we can work out however the structure and process can work, but I think and it should not be done on a partisan basis. Let's say, for example, you have a Sion Hill Community Council. The people of Sion Hill should be able to go and say, well, these are the people in Sion Hill who we think are activists, who are community leaders. Let's elect. We need 5 persons. Put up your names to be on the council, and the community elect them. Now, no red and yellow and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's one way we can start, you know, to really get to that level of bipartisanship. St. Vincent is too small. Our resources are too limited. Look, even in the United States, as bad as Donald Trump is, they still have bipartisanship on a lot of issues in the Senate and in the House, you know, and similarly in other countries, they have their robust debates and so on and so forth. But, you know, look, I've been in Parliament for 5 years, and there's only been one or two bills that I openly opposed. And when I debated, I give my reasons for opposing them. But as much as I can, I try, even though I'm not happy with the process, in the budget, for example, every year. And I made this recommendation to the government on more than one occasion. In Parliament, I wrote to the minister, and I've been suggesting that, look, when you prepare in the annual budget, just like you do consultations with the different ministries, with different community-based organizations, civic organizations, you have consultations with them, even though I think the consultation process is flawed because you basically consult with them after you made your decisions. But at least it seems like there's some effort to be inclusive. But you don't include the parliamentary opposition. The only time we see the budget is a week before it's delivered in Parliament. I mean, that could not be good for progress in this country. And I know some people are going to say, well, when NDP was there, it was the same thing. Yeah, that was how many years ago? Are we going to harp on that, or are we going to try to find practical solutions as we go forward? You know what I mean?
All right. So I see that there are persons calling. What we would do would indicate to you when we are able to take calls. Okay. We just want to get a few questions out first, and then we would open the phone lines. All right. So Fitz, I recognize that you're an independence baby. Right? Yes. What, in your view, truly defines us as Vincies, and how does the NDP's policies, both past, present, and future, fit into this definition? Lovely question.
Well, independence for me goes beyond political independence. We know our history, we know where we've come from, and that sort of stuff. And for me, independence encapsulates a level of, I don't want to repeat the word independence, but a level of autonomy, recognizing our uniqueness. First of all, as individuals, we are all unique. And I always use the example that we have about 8 billion people in the world, and you cannot find two persons with the same fingerprint. So that level of individual uniqueness brings a level of national uniqueness as well. And I think we need to be able to identify what that is, and how do we preserve it? How do we encourage it and utilize it for the betterment of all of us? Somebody always used the term, nobody is better than us, but we're not better than anybody. We're not better than anybody,
you
but
don't
nobody.
Call the person name?
Well, more than, yeah, Prime Minister Gonzalez uses it. No.
I just teasing you.
I know. He uses it quite a bit, but I've heard it from other persons as well. And I agree. We are not better than anybody, but nobody is better than us. And I think when we talk about independence, that should be our drive, to accomplish what we can accomplish to the best of our ability, and to get to that maximum level of accomplishment, whatever that may be. And I think for that to happen, we must be able to devise a level of community spirit, a level of socialization, a level of national interaction that would get us to that place. It doesn't mean that you're going to totally ignore our historical realities, because there are important lessons that we have learned and continue to learn. But at the same, as they say, you can't know where you're going unless you know where you're coming from. But if you're going to be stuck on where you came from, that's a problem. And I think we still a little bit slow in getting away from, that a lot of some of the things that we are stuck in the past, and in trying to move forward. And I think the example I gave a while ago about, that level of political, social maturity and so on, I think we're dragging our feet on that. And I'd like to see as we celebrate our 46th year of independence, that we make that extra commitment to be, let me break it down very simply, to be better with each other. But that can only happen if we are better with ourselves. We have to look into ourselves and see, what can we do better as an individual? We all have flaws. That's how we are made. But how do we handle, how do we improve or even eliminate some of those flaws if it's possible? And then how do we use that experience of personal growth to help to bring and uplift the people around us? That is what I view independence as. And in terms of the part of your question with the New Democratic Party, well, obviously our plans, as we have been outlining, but even before I came into the party and now especially, is a people-centered philosophy, everything that we do should ultimately be geared towards the improvement of the lives of our people, every single one, not just some. You know, sometimes it's difficult to make that connection between a particular project or a particular initiative, and how does that resonate? How does that evolve into uplifting an individual? And I think we have to continue to make that connection. But I think, you know, the fact that we are a people-centered party, and that is my philosophy as well. That's why I joined the New Democratic Party, you know.
But what practical? I want some practical examples.
Practical examples of
how with the NDP it's going to help us advance as an independent, or identifying ourselves as this is who Vincentians are.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I think and that's a very good question. Again, and at the risk of sounding repetitive, we have to find ways to, the very people whom we're trying to uplift as leaders, we have to find ways to get them intimately involved. The local government issue that I spoke about, I think that is one way to really put power back into the hands of the people. Another way that you put power into people's hands is to make them economically independent, you know? And by that I mean, you must be in a position, or at least have the opportunity, to put money in your pocket, to feed yourself and your family, to take care of yourself and your family. The high level of poverty that we experience in this country today, the high level of unemployment that we experience in this country today, if you really want to empower people and make people independent, we have to work really hard to reduce those levels. Right now, the last poverty assessment that came out in 2008 pointed to over 30-something% of poverty rate. And I am telling you, the last poverty assessment that was done in 2018, 7 years ago, the report was not published. The Minister of Finance came into Parliament and said, oh, the data was contaminated, blah, blah, blah. And I happen to know that even more recently than 2018, assessments have been done with regards to our poverty situation. And it's horrible, to say the least. Right now, we have at least 40% of our people living in poverty. And I'm talking about poverty as defined by by international standards, living on 14 EC dollars a day or less. And if you really do an objective and honest analysis, you can sample any group of persons in any community randomly, and you would see what I'm talking about. I mean, we're talking about people, even people who are working, and they're struggling as hell. And how do we bring people out of that to feel a greater sense of independence? And that is why the NDP, for example, is talking about creating more and better jobs. You have to grow the economy in order to create jobs. We have so many opportunities, like, for example, value-added agriculture. Let me give you a quick example. The United States have an agreement with 17 CARICOM countries, where these countries can export certain identified products into the United States duty-free. And listen to some of the things that's on that list: arrowroot and arrowroot product byproducts, fruits and vegetables, sweet peppers, ground provision, all of those things. In 2022, that's the last data that I found for that program, Haiti earned over $600 and something million from taking advantage of that agreement. Trinidad and Tobago, $800 and something million. And other countries, I think Grenada was like $300 and something million and so on, from taking advantage of the fact that we can export our goods into the US duty-free. It means that you have an immediate advantage. You know what St. Vincent earned in 2022 from that program? $129,000. And we are reputed to be one of the best producing arrowroot countries in the world. I mean, we could make millions of dollars from that. Why can't we, for example, develop the arrowroot? And this is just one example. Yes, I don't want people to think that, I don't want people to get bogged down into the arrowroot debate. But the fact is that is one example of an opportunity that we can expand and make it more available and take better advantage of, to empower our people, to make our people become more independent. You know, let's look at sports and culture, for example, again. We're talking about practical examples of how the NDP can really bring people to this level of independence. We know that we have a lot of our young people. I was talking to Dianna off air, and she was telling me that she's a creative. You know, she's into acting and so on and so forth. Now, I've never seen Dianna act, but I believe just looking at her body language and the way she expresses herself, you can see that I'm not an actor evaluator per se, but I've been around, you know, and you can see that she has potential.
She's excellent.
There you go, you know,
Thank you.
and we have many other young people like that. Why do we still have, for example, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a place like the Peace Memorial Hall? I mean, Peace Mo has its historical value, but you can't tell me if you're interested in arts and performing arts. In 2025, we don't even have a performing arts center. We don't even have mechanisms in place to get our actors and actresses to go overseas. Even our singers and other performers, we have some excellent soca artists and other artists here, and other than the big ones who, you know, get opportunities overseas, what happened to the up and coming ones? What mechanisms are in place for us to help them to elevate and to expand and to expose themselves? You know, what cultural festival do we have in St. Vincent other than Carnival to attract and to offer opportunities for our artists whose talent may not necessarily be Carnival oriented? You know what I mean? So those are some of the things that we in the new. So that's why, for example, we have developed, Dr. Friday signed a youth guarantee pledge for the young people. And he's saying when the New Democratic Party gets into office, young people will either be working, learning a skill, or be in school. Ain't nobody, I mean, of course, you're not going to be able to bring 100% of the young people, you know, off the streets or whatever term you want to use. But certainly, the incidence is too extreme right now. There are too many of our young people with nothing to do. And I don't buy the argument when people say, oh, they don't want to do this because they're lazy. And that is utter nonsense. Young people, when you are born as a baby, can you tell me that you're born lazy or you're born this or you're born that? Circumstances make us who we are. Buju Banton said that. And I know that we also have individual responsibilities. But when you're living in circumstances and environments which can be so dominating and so domineering, then you become a victim or a success of that environment. And the New Democratic Party's objective and vision is to reduce the number of victims of our system, of our environment, of our society.
I would love to take you up on something you said, but
take me up.
We save that for another time, right? Save it for another time.
Okay, so we are going to open our phone lines. Not yet.
Okay, let me just squeeze in one more question, and then we would open the phone lines. All right, so in an article in Searchlights in 2020, you came up with a 2020 plan for your constituency, and that plan was for a 10-year time frame, right?
Absolutely.
What have you been able to implement, given that this is the halfway mark?
Yeah, well, you know, that 2020 plan was premised on the fact that I would have been in government, you know, and I know some people say, oh, the opposition are always saying they can't do nothing because they're in opposition. I don't say that. I don't say I can't do anything because I'm in opposition. But as I mentioned earlier, and you can see the connection now when I talk about bipartisanship and the necessary impact of our politics. And when you're in opposition, in order to it's extremely challenging to deliver some of the things that you really want to deliver because you don't have access to the resources. I'm not talking about, you know, doing a little food drive for the elderly in the community. That's not what I'm talking about, because you can always get people to sponsor and support that. But if you're talking about, for example, developing Sion Hill Beach, how am I going to do that as an opposition MP? You know, unless I engage the government, unless I'm able to engage private investors who may be interested in something like that. And then still, the system is designed so that they still have to go through the government. You know what I mean? That's why I'm saying we need to find ways where those ideas and those initiatives can come to the fore. Whether or not you are a member of cabinet, unlike what a particular candidate for the ULP said, if people in the Southern Grenadines want to see things, they have to, their representative must be in cabinet. That's utter nonsense. And I don't mean to hit hit Sister Chevron, and I mean, you know, I don't go after people personally, but I just thought that was ill-conceived. If the people of a particular constituency elects you to represent them, whether or not you're in government, that representative ought to be given the opportunity from the public purse and from the political system to be able to represent the people who elected that person to represent them. You know what I mean? Don't be spiting the representative because they're in opposition and you feel if you help them to help their people, they go look good and people go vote them back. I mean, come on, man. You know, and that is the reality. I know some people can call in and want to cuss and carry on, but that's okay. That's okay. I could deal with that.
All right, but even though it's not on a macro scale,
right,
on a micro scale, what
right.
have you been able to accomplish?
Right. Well, I personally have done quite a few things. I've reached out to the elderly. I have provided assistance for medical medication, for medical attention to people. I mean, some of it is usually out of my own pocket, which is not very deep, but I also have the skills to engage and to attract people who can help. You know, I have been involved in community advocating for infrastructural development. The latest, I don't know if you guys saw the video about the Cyanil hard court. During COVID, I taught online economics to students, and I still do from time to time. Community college students would come and I would help them with their economics, that stuff. I was involved in some football coaching for the young people. We do a Christmas party every year for the children of the constituency. And even though these things may seem small, my objective is to make people feel happy, even if it's temporary, you know. And within my limitations, I think I've done what I could do. I could do better, but my doing better is unfortunately hinged on resources and so on being made available to me. After all, I'm a politician. I'm a parliamentarian. You know, I'm not a private business person. If I am a parliamentarian representing the people of this country and the people providing resources for their representatives to represent them, then how could you justify excluding me from that process? Simply because I'm an opposition MP. And we're going to change that in the New Democratic Party government.
That's what I'm making a note for future.
If your party goes into power,
when? But you said the right thing. You said the right thing.
What ministry do you have your eye on, or what ministry you plan to be in charge of?
Well, you know, we have an outstanding leader in Dr. Friday, and we have an excellent team. I'm not saying this because it's election time. I'm really convinced of that. And by the way, I've known Dr. Friday. Dr. Friday and I went to the same secondary school in Beckwith. When the Beckwith Anglican High School was built, he was a member of the very first class of that Anglican High School. And I remember when they were building it, everybody in Beckwith went to help. Who in Jogue sand pump in bucket, Jogue water, and to help build it. So we are part and parcel of it. And he was a few forms ahead of me. When I went in, I think he was in form 4 or 5. And then he came back when he finished his A-levels in grammar school and came back and taught me in when I was in Form 5 in the Beckwith Anglican High School. And he captained me. He was my football captain and cricket captain when we played for the Beckwith Anglican High School. So I know him very well. And I am proud. I don't like to use the word proud because the Bible talks about pride, but I guess proud in this way in a different sense. I am really honored and proud to have Dr. Friday as my leader. And I'm saying that to say in terms of ministerial allocations, he is the kind of leader who would bring us together and sit down and discuss. We have had preliminary discussions on it, and I'm quite sure that those discussions will conclude soonest. But in terms of me and my expertise and my experience, we're looking at the Ministry of Finance and Planning. I'm the only economist in the Parliament right now. But, you know, and then I also have extensive experience in foreign relations and foreign affairs because I was a deputy ambassador. So we're looking at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, obviously my background in sports as well, you know. But we have a team of diverse people that can fill so many different roles. And I think that makes the job a lot easier for me. But I see Foreign Affairs and Finance and Planning as the two top ministries for me.
Yeah, I see that too.
Yeah. I know my sports friends would say, Bramble, no, we need you in sports. But as a member of cabinet, I'll still be able to influence the decisions in other areas as well.
Okay.
Okay, so we're opening the phone lines now. So the number to call is 457-9997, and already we have a caller. Dave, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning to the Honorable Fitzgerald Bramble, so to speak.
Morning, Dave. Morning, Dave. How you doing? How you
Well,
doing?
you and I go back a long time. And
I was just gonna say, Dave. Let me preempt you by saying I miss those days down by the laundry down there where Yellow has his restaurant now opposite Subway.
Yes.
Every evening, them fellas used to be there arguing and talking politics, including Ralph Gonzalez.
Also, they were there, and then I know I used to see Dave by where NCB, former NCB was.
They moved up a little higher.
Dave, yeah. All right.
So Dave,
we are the heartbeat.
Yeah, man.
We are the heartbeat of this nation. And it really hurts me, I tell you, Fitz. I saw it and jump in the ring at one time because the kind of dotishness I see going on and how people are buying into it. People are getting tricked,
Yeah.
People are easily bought in this country. For what? I am disappointed. We're supposed to have, you're one of the brightest guys in the country. You have one of the bright people. But I am disappointed to understand how some people could be taken for a ride and seem to have lost their consciousness. Well, I know politics is a different kind of consciousness, but come on, even you look at the basic, fundamental, things that we as a people have thrown out, like they say the baby and the bath water. I mean, we know we have what you would call him, the prime minister in this country. We know he has used certain benefits. I don't know. Sometimes I don't want to go there, but he has certainly used certain benefits to his advantage and make it look as though he's the only man who could run this country. And that is a big, that is a big disappointment for me. Vincentians are made up of almost black people, right? And I'm not being racist here, but certainly you have to look at certain things. As though certain people who are born in a certain privileged situation are the ones who have all the say. And those of our aspiring black people can't get anywhere. We need to change that mentality. And I'll tell you something, if NDP gets into office, emancipation, I have a problem every year emancipation comes around. Somebody, I should say somebody, but we should have people to really tell us what emancipation should mean to us as a people, because we certainly are not emancipated. And I make no apology for saying there are few of us who are conscious. For instance, I think, who is our intelligentsia in this country?
Okay, Dave, Dave, one second.
When I talk about an intelligentsia, I ain't talking about those who have this degree or that degree and so on.
Dave.
There must be genuine and objective, well-meaning people to
Dave,
make us feel comfortable and secure with the future in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Too much of our people have
Dave,
to run all over the place. Yes,
Dave Roberts.
It is something that we come and meet and it will continue. But it's time that we come to our own consciousness. I just said those words. There's a lot to be said, but time will not permit. I wish you all the best, man. I wish I could have campaigned with you.
Thank you. Dave. Thank you. Well, that's a mouthful.
Yes, that was. All right. So, persons, when you're calling, if you could try to either put your comments or your question in a succinct manner so that we could facilitate several calls. All right. So I know some other persons were trying to call. So remember, the number to call is 457-9997. We have someone else. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Morning, Mr. Bramble.
Good morning, my dear. How are you? I hope you don't mind me calling you my dear.
No.
All right.
Yes. You have cleared up something that one of the co-hosts on the radio, one of the ladies there, had a problem with. One time they had a conversation about finance and getting money. And she said the opposition supposed to go out, that is her opinion, to go out and get whatever money they need and do things to the country. So I'm glad you gave her the difference. Because when money is allotted and his government have the money for spend, you all are not giving anything, not even the fund that was in before.
Yeah.
Yes, you all not even a stipend to help out in the constituency. So she had a problem with the financing. And you all doing well with fundraising and helping out people.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, because all in the constituency, you all either have getting the people together, even the youth. Yes, and I commend you all for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, caller.
Oh, you have another caller? I just wanted to jump in quickly and mention, I forgot, but I didn't mention the constituency development fund. You know, when you asked me the question about what we've done and so on, and I was talking about our inability, our reduced ability as opposition MPs. And I know that Major Leacock, for example, in particular.
Let's put a pin. I'd make a note and you get back to it. All right.
No problem.
Hi, caller. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is fun. I just got two questions that I want to ask Mr. Bramble, please.
Go ahead. You can go ahead.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Bramble. Good morning, everybody in the studio.
Morning, my brother. How are you?
Good. I'm always listen to NDP, and I go over sometime and I listen to Labour. I really, truly, and if I was in Simpin, so I'm definitely was going for the change. But I'm not there, but I still back up my part here.
And you can influence your family and friends as well and talk to them.
I do that too.
All right, much appreciated.
Anyway, I'm trying to go straight with it. I'm listening some clip yesterday on that Labour people that the Labour putting out there, and then they're saying that your prime minister to be say he would go out and get money and whatsoever. And he only making promises. If he only making promises now, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying that's what they put it out there. Say that he only making promises and he's not fulfilling none of his promises because he went out and said that he go raise $100,000 to help the people of them, and he never come back on the radio and make a statement and say nothing. Whether if he did it, yes or no, nobody never hear anything about it, they're saying. And then one lady come on the radio, must send some clip of the other, who somewhere overseas, and then she said that if her people of them, though she send money for her mom, and if her mom go and vote again for Labour, she will not send no money. And one of your representative, I don't remember which one of them name, he says something like they have to put down a tight. If you send money, give people them and then go vote for Labour, and then I put down a tight thing, is like, so sometimes we as a politician, I'm just saying, as a politician, sometimes you got to know what you got to say, because them throwing it out there, like, the man is so bad and all and kind of going on there. That's if they win, what will be happen if they win? Labour people won't get a chance. There will be real tight pan thing, because that's where the man listen with him and I'm saying and all that kind of going on there and
Okay, Pompey, I think Mr. Bramble has gotten the gist of it. All right, so he would allow him to respond, okay?
Thanks.
Thanks for calling.
Let me respond.
I can't understand what's going on. That's all. That's why I come up with it.
Let me respond to that very simply. The issue of promises and promises. Look, the New Democratic Party is in opposition. Yeah? The Unity Labour Party, they're in government. We have a job interview coming up. Even though you are the incumbent, the owners of the company, the people of this country, they own the company called St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And they are looking to hire somebody or retain the current manager. So there's an open process of interviewing. The people are interviewing us to determine whether or not they want to hire us. Now, if we're in opposition and we want the people, the owners of the company to hire us, when we go to the interview, they ask us questions and we answer the questions. Furthermore, for the last 25 years, the New Democratic Party has been in opposition. How else are we able to convince the electorate other than interacting with them and conversing with them to let them know when we get into government, when you hire us, this is what we plan to do. This is how we plan to make your company successful. Yeah. And then if we're given the opportunity, or when we're given the opportunity, if we don't stick and hold true to what we promise you, the owners of the company, when the time comes for that job performance evaluation, the next election, then you make a determination whether you want to retain us or not. The issue is the current manager of the company called St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the government, the ULP, they have been there for 25 years. And if you look at where St. Vincent has come, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they haven't done anything good. And I'm not saying that they haven't done anything progressive. That's not what I'm saying. But in the grand scheme of things, from a macro standpoint, overall, our country has retrogressed significantly, and I can give you a plethora of examples and statistics.
Okay, let me just squeeze this in before I take another call. But the starting point of the conversation is persons are saying out there that if you can't hold to a promise that you made of 100,000 to students, how can we hold you to anything else bigger? You as in the party, how can we hold you to anything else bigger?
Yeah, and I understand that concern. We have also contributed to the burial recovery process. The caller made the point that Dr. Friday didn't come back to the radio and explain to the extent. And maybe that is something that he needs to do. In fact, as I recall, he has been talking about it in different fora and on different occasions. Just because he didn't come back, I guess when he talked about it, it was in a press conference setting, so people are expecting him to come back in that press conference setting to give that information. But the fact of the matter is that we gave this government $136 million to help with the burial recovery. $136 million in the supplementary estimates. They have not been able to account for it. And you're coming back now the other day for another for supplementary estimates of nearly.
And if somebody says that you're deflecting by giving that response.
No, I'm not deflecting. I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to show you that there should be consistency across the board. So if you're going to hold the NDP, or if you're going to accuse the NDP of not keeping promises, then let's do the same for the government, the manager of the company.
Okay.
All
right. So persons who are trying to call, go right ahead and call now. All right.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me see if I could get this in before another call coming, because the lady called and she was mentioning one of us talking about, okay, we have two callers. We'll get back to the point of the NDP funding certain things. So let's take the call. Hi, Jeff. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Angel. Good morning, Mr. Bramble.
Morning. Yes, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Like the caller mentioned about the money that was promised. No statement was ever made about that. And you all should really come to the people and say, you promised this, you promised, and nobody heard about it. But my question to you, I listened to you a couple of weeks ago on Kingsley with you and Stephen, and you were talking about percentage of what is going down. And you always throw numbers out there. And you're telling Stephen, well, give us the numbers. But Mr. Bramble, I've heard you in parliament many times throw statistics out there about numbers. and you're asked to bring the evidence. I've already give evidence at all. You just said a while ago, maybe about 40% of people is living in local poverty conditions, something to that effect. Is there any statistic to give you the numbers? Where can you find those numbers? You show numbers out, but you don't bring them out and say, go here, go there, and bring those numbers out.
Fair enough.
I won't be quick.
No,
you talk about developing Sand Hill Beach. When I'm going to throw them a Nicole come. You talk about developing Sand Hill Beach and stuff like that for tourism. One of my questions to you, I haven't heard it in a long time. When you first came back, you talk about swimming with the dolphin. Is that going to be part of it?
Well, if you
not hearing that,
let me answer that part real quickly. Sorry to interrupt you. Like, if you've been listening, even before the last elections, based on feedback, public and private, I determined that the idea of the dolphins was not a good idea. So that aspect was
thrown out.
Right, that aspect of the project is thrown out. But we still have very big plans for the Sand Hill development, beach development. And if I get the opportunity this morning, I'll touch on it on a little bit. But just to quickly tell you about data sources. Data sources are everywhere. You have the World Bank, you have the IMF, you have the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, you have the FAO, you have ECLAC, all of these international, and including our own statistics department here. And I can tell you this much, guaranteed, if my statistics were wrong or unfounded, I would have already been pulled over the coals to them. You don't hear anybody challenging these statistics.
But they asked you in Parliament for it. You have never given it.
What did they ask me for in Parliament that I didn't give? Which statistics?
Numbers that you throw out there.
Yeah, but for what? That I can't recall that.
You throw out numbers about unemployment in the country. Something say we are the worst in the Eastern Caribbean.
Yes, and the figures are there.
Mention about
the source of that. Hold on.
But you're supposed to bring it in Parliament and say where is it coming from? You don't do it.
No.
You haven't done it.
Listen to me, my brother. The source of those, and everybody in Parliament, including the Minister of Finance, they know the source of those figures. Our basic data source set comes from our stats department here. Come from our stats department here, and from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. You can go on any of those sites and get almost any kind of data. Of course, our stats department is a little bit lagging with the data, but it's still there. For example, the unemployment figures. The last time a labor market survey was done was back in 2016. That's the last time a labor market survey was done and the report brought to Parliament. The other day, the Minister of Finance tried to come and tell us, we're doing a labor market survey and the report would be published soon. But I can tell you that preliminary figures from the report says that St. Vincent has single-digit unemployment. He never came back to Parliament with it after that. Never came back to Parliament.
Did you guys challenge that?
Of course I did.
Did you guys challenge that?
Yes, I did.
And when he said he was on the 10th?
Yes, we did. And he never came back to Parliament up to this day.
Okay.
Up to this day. The report from this supposedly done labor market survey has not been tabled in Parliament, and it has not been published or presented anywhere. You know what I mean? But I understand. I understand your concern about providing evidence, and I try my best as a social scientist, as an economist. I try my best to have my evidence to support what I'm saying, and I can tell you that in future I will try to make it my business to identify specific data sources going forward.
All right, Jeff, good now.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, good.
The last question: how different are you going to be from the old New Democratic Party? Because remember when the old party was there, they won all 15 seats.
That's right.
No opposition bench was named. None was named. How different you guys going to be different? You talk about inclusive. How different is going to be? Because you say you're the New Democratic Party.
That's right.
How are you going to differentiate yourself from them?
I love that question.
I listen and I'm off.
I love that question because, he said that the New Democratic Party has been the only party in our country's history to win all 15 seats. So it means that we did something right. And what I will say, even though it's a different era and it's a different team, our basic philosophy is still the same: people-centered development. And if it so happens that we win all 15 seats, I think that is an even better opportunity for us to be more inclusive. Get out there, have our community, our community councils, our local government, put the power back into the hands of the people. That's what I'm concerned about. putting the power into the hands of the people. And when I say power, I'm talking about putting people in positions where they can be an important part of the decision-making process, the decision that is going to determine whether or not their lives improve. That is what I'm concerned about. That is what the NDP is concerned about.
Okay. All right. So we have maybe like roughly 6 more minutes in this interview. I saw that somebody was trying to call a couple of times. I ain't going to call your name, but try call quickly.
Can I get a chance to 2 minutes also?
The person calling right now.
Okay.
Hi, Queens, morning.
Yes.
She said, hi, Queens, morning. But she ain't say King morning. I guess I'm not a king.
No, the guy, no, well, that's what's there.
And that caller Jeff is the guy who tried to embarrass your mentor, Mr. Yusuf, at the 2015 town hall in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
By asking him what he has done to develop his craft or to improve his craft.
We live and we learn. We live and we learn, and I'm sure Jeff has learned.
No. You lived in Canada for a while. How is the crime rate in Canada? How was the crime rate and is?
When I left Canada, the crime rate in Canada was, I think, 6%, 6 out of every 100,000. Of course, Canada has a population of about 41 million. But if you're making comparisons, you have to deal with percentages and not absolute numbers. So, a 6% as opposed to in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where it's close to 50%. It's tough. It's tough. And because we're a smaller population.
The crime rates were high in Canada.
If what?
Would you care? And if so, why would you care?
Would I care about what? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
If the crime rate was high in Canada, would you care about the crime rate being high in Canada? And if you care, why would you care about the crime rate in Canada?
Of course, I would care about the crime rate in Canada. I would care about the crime rate. Hold on. Let me finish. I would care about the crime rate in any country because the world is so connected now. First of all, a crime against any human being is just totally reprehensible and unacceptable. That no human being should be a victim of any crime. But be that as it may, that is our reality. Now, to come back to your question, specifically for Canada, we have a large Vincentian diaspora living in Canada. And if the crime rate is high in Canada, it means our people are exposed to such an undesirable reality, which can impact not just their lives, but the lives of their family back home. Because a lot of the Vincentians in Canada, they work, they send back home money to their families, they send back home money to help the economy of St. Vincent. So, of course, that's going to be an important issue for me.
Well, I guess you exactly where I want to get, where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So why shouldn't I care about the bad roads in Barbados? Because there are many Vincentians living in Barbados who work and send money home to the relatives in St. Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
So why shouldn't we care about the bad roads in Barbados?
You brought that up already on Kingsley's program, and I answered you.
So
hold on.
I go that way to see what your response would be.
No. My response is always consistent. And I said to you, the bad roads in Barbados.
You don't care.
No. Hold on. You're going to let me.
Queens, let him. You ask the question. Let him respond.
Let me answer you. If you don't want me to answer, then I'm willing to just give way. Yeah. The bad roads in Barbados obviously is a concern for anybody. My answer to you when you ask the question is, I am concerned about the bad roads in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and what we are going to do about it. When you couch your question, you couch your question to try to get me to provide solutions for the bad roads in Barbados. That's not my duty. That is not my duty. That is what you. That is how you.
Solution.
That is how you couch the question.
Like you care about the crime rate in Canada because they've Vincentian living there. I want you to care about the bad roads in Barbados. Let me tell you why. Yesterday, during when King was there, they talk about Sister Pat of the St. Martin.
Yes, and we know the unfortunate incident.
Our brother was the Prime Minister of Dominica.
Mm-hmm.
She died in Barbados in an accident.
Yes, we know of that unfortunate
incident. Bad road in Barbados that caused the accident. Why should the people of St. Vincent care about the bad road in Barbados? It affected the people of St. Vincent or death. Many people who cared and love for her. But I'm going to listen to your answer.
The reality is, and I think that caller, every time I come on WEFM, we bring up that issue of bad roads in Barbados. But the reality is that we're living in St. Vincent. Yes, you're concerned about issues in other countries, which will impact us. And even if they don't impact us as a human being, you know, but in the context of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and our developmental challenges, I have offered myself to be a public servant in this country to try to help to address our challenges, and that is my main concern. That is my focus, and that is the focus of the New Democratic Party.
All right, so Dianna, I haven't forgotten you. Fitz, I haven't forgotten you, but let's take this. Might be last call, and we'll see. Hi, caller, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Dianna and Roleza, good morning. How you doing?
Morning, we're all right.
And to the gentleman who's there.
Fitz Bramble.
My friend, Penturina come, you know, so. My point, I want to ask you a question. I already talked about employment to the younger generation that then getting employment. I want to know if they getting power, right? If they would not help the younger generation, like a young lady who have a child and then his father not around, if they would not help them with employment.
Yes, we have been saying that all along. We have talked about the 4 pillars of our economy, and I know that doesn't resonate sometimes with some people, but we're basically saying that in order to grow our economy, in order to create jobs, so that that same young lady with a child without the father's presence can get a job. We're talking about creating jobs in agriculture, in tourism, in fisheries and the marine environment, and in the new economy, you know, creatives, digital technology, and so on. We also going to create a national development bank in conjunction with what I would call a new and improved prime program. We don't call it that, but I'm calling it that for explanatory purposes, because I always say that the prime program is one of the better initiatives, in my view, envisioned by the government. Unfortunately, it has not been effectively implemented. In my view, hold on. Let me just finish it quickly.
Okay.
That is something that we will, for example, in East Kingston, I have an initiative called HYPE, HYPE, helping young people excel, where we're going to make $1 million available over the first 18 months to 2 years to create 50 businesses in East Kingston, each allocated $20,000. We are going to work in conjunction with our entrepreneurial hub, which we would be creating to help those new business people develop and to help provide support to make sure to increase the possibility of the success of those businesses. That is just for the young people, but we also have similar programs that we are going to roll out for not so young people as well, because the population is diverse, you know. So we're not going to create a situation where everybody has to run and go and look for a job somewhere. We are going to create opportunities for people to help themselves, to work for themselves, and lots of opportunities are available because this country has a lot of potential that is still untapped.
Because the reason why I asked you that, because how you keep talking about the other party in power, that, you know, like young people and, you know, and, you know, like disability, these kind of things, and like you, if you guys get there, like you wouldn't help them because they don't have a job. But at the same time, if they don't have a job and they need help, and because, you know, some of the man, them, you know, them pregnant, them girls, and I don't want no other help, but, you know, they don't have a job. So
yeah, I understand.
Have to come in, the government or whatever who in power have to come in and try to help them.
And I agree.
You can't leave them to leave the young one to suffer.
I'm glad you made that point.
In America now,
sorry,
they make money there, but at the same time, people still unemployment, no matter what.
Yeah, you're not going to get rid of unemployment completely. But I think the point that you're making is a very good one. You because you're highlighting the fact that we don't have the social services. We don't have the social infrastructure to take care of, for example, pregnant girls or single mothers who don't have the support of the fathers. The most you do, you go to family court. The family court might say, well, I'm ordering you to pay pay $300 child support. But then the young man can't pay it because he ain't working, you know. And how do we fill that gap? That is a gap that we have to address. Providing proper social services for our vulnerable women, girls, children, the elderly, the differently abled. We have to provide better social services, better social support for them. You know, do you know there's not one home, there's not one shelter in St. Vincent for battered women, for women of domestic violence? Not one. Come on, in 2025.
Yeah. All right, caller, we're going to have to...
another question for you. Then you were talking about our
caller. You're going to have to put it on pause. We're going to have to invite Mr. Bramble to come back. So if you could hold the question for that other occasion.
But let me just one very quick. Because he was talking about our route, right? And I want to know who going to dig our route in this time, because I want to know if he ever dig our route.
All right, you would answer, okay?
Because the younger generation are going to go in a route field, go dig our route. That's my second question.
That is a very myopic view.
Thank you.
Then you have a blessed one.
Yeah, that is a very myopic view. Our root production involves different stages, and believe you me, people will work in our root production from the very beginning to the end product of adding value to our root. And yes, I haven't dug our root, but when I grew up in Beckley, I dig plenty cassava for McFerrin. I used to plant me corn and peas. I had sheep, goat, pig, all thing. So when you see me in jacket and tie, don't feel I just come.
All right.
But I know you're wrapping up.
But I know Dianna wanted to ask, and then you could.
No, I think you could finish up your point, and then I'll get.
Okay, wait. I'll allow you. I'll allow you to have the last say since it's your program.
All right. Well, I won't have the last say, but I just wanted to address the caller that spoke about the funding for New Democratic Party taking on projects and so on and so forth. So I was the one. We have discussed that before, and I am of the opinion that a party in opposition does not have to wait on government funds to do everything, and I still stand by that point. Now, what do I mean by that? And I do support the Constituency Development Fund because I think if we are looking out for the country, and we say we are, then everybody should have that opportunity to look out for the country and not a specific group of people, right? And the reason why I say that the opposition does not have to wait on government funds to take on certain projects is because people do it all the time, right? If there are persons who are NGOs, and I'm not talking about NGOs that have government affiliations, but real actual NGOs and just independent people in the communities who would get up and see a problem and decide, I'm going to take it on my own. There are people who donate things all the time. There are people who look out for persons and they do it out of their own pocket, or they reach out to others and get them to come on board to help them. So for small projects, I'm not necessarily talking about like road and putting up certain infrastructure, but for smaller things where you see a need in your community, I think that the opposition, whoever the opposition is, can find a source or find somebody that is willing to come together with them if they don't have the funds to help out the people. And I think that can work in favor of any opposition, because if I live in East Kingston and maybe, let's say, I have a problem with my house. The house is common. I have a problem with my house. I reach out to Bramble. I know his party is not in power and he doesn't have the government funds to support me, but he says to me, I'm going to see what I can do for you, even though I don't have this backup. So he goes to his party or he goes to his friends overseas or somebody, and he comes, and even if it's at $20 and you say, buy one single steel and do something here, I would be grateful. And in my mind, I would think, Fitz is actually looking out for me, because even when he's not in power, he went out to see how he could help me. He didn't wait until he got in power to tell me, well, wait until I reach there and I will give you the steel. Even without the government funds, you try to help. And that would let me know that you actually do care about me and you actually do want to help me. You don't just want my vote to put you there to better yourself.
Beautifully put, Dianna. And I agree with you. As a matter of fact, I am going to publicly offer, or should I say, humbly request an opportunity to sit down with you and discuss. I'm serious, and discuss this further, because I think you have some brilliant ideas. And I agree with you that there are different ways in which you can reach out and help. But I will say also that all of our NDP opposition parliamentarians in particular and candidates, we continue to reach out to people in so many ways. If I tell you some of the ways that I have helped people, you would tell me I'm lying. Some things are better left unsaid. Some people don't want their stuff out there. But in my case, for example, when people come to ask me for help with building materials and so on, I direct them to the appropriate government department. that because they have the resources. I try to maintain a decent relationship with all of the public servants, and I've been successful for the most part. That's just my personality. I don't believe in pulling on people and all that kind of stuff. And when you have a relationship like that with people, it tends to be reciprocated. If you bash public servants and this and that, you send somebody to them for help. It's human nature. They might say, Bramble send you, me no nothing to do with Bramble, that kind of way. And I think most of our, if not all of our opposition candidates are like that. We have that relationship, that encouraging, that pleasant relationship, because we all need each other. We all need each other, So I hear you. I've done all kinds of stuff in East Kingston. People send books every year, school supplies, Christmas time, food stuff. We have our children's. People donate to all of those things. So we do our bit by bit, but I agree with you that we should continue to encourage that environment. And I'd love to take you up on that discussion at a later time. And just quickly, if you would allow me, Ro.
2 minutes. Absolute 2 minutes.
I just want to make a quick plug for my East Kingston office opening on Saturday September the 27th. It's going to be huge. If anybody follows East Kingston politics, every election we open the office up on top Sign Hill behind Grave Supermarket. And that's going to be the first of our big meetings per se for the NDP for this election season. So it's going to be big. We want people to come out and hear the message of the New Democratic Party. The speakers would include Dr. Friday, of course, my Kingston seat colleagues, Leacock and Cummins, Dr. Shallow, our breath of fresh air, and the man who's really hotting up everybody head on the other side. That's the only political plug I'm going to put in this morning. and Sister Chevron, John, we have some young people going to be speaking and so on. And of course, I myself, your humble servant, would take the opportunity to highlight the plans that we have for East Kingston. So I'm inviting everybody, including you two ladies. You don't have to, if you don't have to be politically affiliated. You come in here purple. That's all right, as long as you come. But I really want to thank you all for having me here this morning, and I would love to come back if you would have me.
Oh, we definitely are going to have you back. Every session like this, we have to have 2 sessions. Can't talk enough in one.
True that.
Well, we've come to the end of our interview with the MP for East Kingston for the New Democratic Party, Mr. Honorable Dwight Fitzgerald Bramble, but we know him as Fitz Bramble. Fitz is good. We know him as Fitz. Thank you for joining us here this morning and looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, ladies.